Alright, boys and girls, today we're going to talk about this new 592 XP Husqvarna beast of a saw, and I just want to do a direct comparison to the 572. So right off the bat, let's do a top view. As you can see, the handle on the 390 is quite a bit further ahead. Obviously the body of it is quite a bit larger. It's a little bit wider, so it's just overall a bigger animal than the 572 is. Pull the covers. Now right off the bat, this air filter is dirty as hell. This has 25 tanks on it. That's usually the limit, and actually this filter has 50 tanks because I clean them once. The second time I throw them away, so this filter will be going in the garbage and a new filter going on. But here's a look at the size of the 572. You know, I'll put my hand there for a reference. We haul the cover off of this monster. This is a much bigger setup. It's got a short, fat air filter instead of a tall, skinny air filter. But basically, everything's in the same place. Decompression. Your primer ball in the 572, I guess, is back a little further. But in general, not a whole lot of difference in the appearance, obviously. Much larger flywheel in here on the 92 than what's here on the 72, and having used the 592 a bit now, it's a very nice working saw. I actually sold the 390 that was in the last saw video. A fella bought it for using it for a mill. So the latest thing I've done to these saws is I just took the spark arrestor screens out of them, which doesn't really change a whole lot, but it opens the exhaust up a tiny bit more. This 592 just sounds like an absolute animal compared to the 72, so I'll put the cover back on this beast. And I'm going to show you another thing that I really like about these new Huskies, which I've mentioned in the 572 videos. So on this side of the saw, when you take your side cover off of these new saws, the nut stays fastened to the cover. They just sort of float, so you don't drop them in the woods. This is an awesome thing Husky come out with, and I can't preach that enough compared to the old saws. You're in the woods, you drop one of these, and you know, no more needs to be said about that. So what I'll do is I'll get this thing fired up so you can hear it with the spark arrestor out. The thing's extremely loud. I kind of enjoy it, actually. And obviously the other big physical difference, which I mentioned in the first video on the saw, is they've got this up and down spring here, where on the 72 it's a sideways spring. So this helps with the violent kickback if you get into that situation. But I've tested this saw out with the kickback, and it's really not that bad. Nowhere near as bad as what the 390 is, or was. So if you like big saws, I don't know, I've never actually personally run a 3120, but I'm guessing this thing here is getting pretty close to the highest performance thing that these guys have put out yet. So I strongly recommend, if you like big saws, buy one of these and try this thing out, because it's an animal. So just a little friendly tip, maintenance on these saws is very light. Keep your vents clean on your air inducer, keep the air filter clean, check it every 25-30 hours. I clean it at 25, replace it at 50. That's my rule. And the only other thing you got to do is fish this fuel filter out of there every 50 or 60 tanks and put a new one of them on the end of your line. And that's pretty much, that is all I've done to these saws since I've had them. There's been no catastrophic failure. This baby here is probably hitting, I probably junked close to 300 cord with this thing since I got it, so they're holding up good. So I'm just going to fuel this up and show you how loud the 572 is compared to 92. Big difference, but I mean, two different purposes for these saws too. This one here, I get no trouble to use logging. This is firewood and big cutting only. I mean, this saw here will do the job most of the time, but it's still fun to have a fast cutting beast like this, and that's an awesome saw, hands down. I love it.